A pleasant good evening to you. Do we have with us here UNC Senator Wade Mark?
Yes, good evening to my brother Mikee.
Good
And to
evening.
your listening audience.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out to link with us. First of all, tomorrow is an event, the UNC budget consultation. Please tell us.
Yes, the United National Congress, as a people's-centered organization, has always, even from the acronym UNC, has always taken the position to put people at the center of its activities, and the people must always be placed paramount in the developmental process. In this context and against this particular background, the United National Congress, the alternative government of this republic, has arranged a series of public consultations on the upcoming 2024 budget. So we kick off on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, September the 13th, at 6:30 in the evening at the headquarters of the Seamen and Waterfront Workers' Trade Union on Rice Road. This meeting is targeting business, labor, and civil society, and of course the general public, so that the meeting is one which is designed to hear initially from 4 speakers from the United National Congress, namely David Lee on energy, Julian John on the economy, Damian Ryder on trade and business, and Saddam Hussein on crime, safety, and security. When they would have made their limited intervention, the floor will now be open to members of the audience to come to the mic and to engage and to explain and to identify and to put forward solutions to deal with their problems, the problems facing their communities, their constituencies, and the country, and to hope through media coverage these proposals and recommendations would reach the ears of the Minister of Finance, so that the Minister of Finance can consider incorporating those views into his 2024 fiscal package.
But let me ask you, Senator, we just had former Finance Minister Mariano Brown on before you came on, and he made it quite clear that, government cannot sustain the economy. They just can't. There must be some way of generating revenue, having businesses function where they can make a profit, deal with customers. But currently we are not in that environment. It's not taking place. And that being the case, what do we have to look forward to?
Well, we have to appreciate that the government, through its misguided economic policies, led to the contraction of this economy by between 16 to 19% between the period 2015 to 2021. You would know that the GDP of our country stood at close to $185 billion when the Kamla Prasad administration left office in 2015. At the end of 2021, it stood at just under $150 billion. So the economy has contracted. And as the economy contracted, what we had is higher levels of unemployment, lower production, negative economic growth. And therefore, business category have not been getting the kind of environment, particularly the ease of doing business. And you have to also take on board the fact that under this government, crime and the fear of crime have devastated our economy. There is a link between crime and the state of Trinidad and Tobago's economy. So all of these factors are contributing to this country's, stagnation.
And Senator, you're right. And Mr. Brown also did touch on that as well. It's a domino effect. Here we are currently at 413 plus murders for the year already. But in its last recommendations by the IMF, and this is an entity that the finance minister has always been critical about. However, they did mention in the report that the handling of the pandemic, and they projected a robust growth of 3.2%. So, of course, the finance minister was happy to use this positive forecast as an endorsement of the success managing the economy. But we are out of the pandemic. What do we do now? I mean, at the end of it all, yes, we were hit globally. It was an economic global hit. But where do we go now as far as creating that culture, creating that environment, which can be, of course, business friendly, and working side by side, government and private sector, to once again bring about some sort of robust activity to our economy? How long are we going to hear about this pandemic?
No, Mikee K, you're correct. Although the IMF predicted a 3.2% economic growth rate for 2022, even the CSO has now produced, according to the data we have seen published, a figure of 1.5, which is a far cry from the 3.5% that was predicted by the IMF. So, and then of course they have predicted that in the first quarter of 2023, the economy has grown by about, I think it's about 3%. But what is the reality? The reality, Mikee K, is that natural gas, which has an inextricable correlation to economic activity in our country, has been reduced by 1/3 between 2015 to 2023. In 2015, we were producing 4.2 billion cubic feet of natural gas per day. Today, we are producing between 2.6 and 2.7 billion cubic feet of natural gas. The government over the years have not been providing the kind of intervention in this economy to provide incentives. Now, when I say incentives, multinational corporations like BP and Shell and BHP now is, I think it's, they have a new name for them now, BHP, and you have Touchstone, and you have EOG. These are companies that come into our country and they seek incentives. Now, you cannot sell the kitchen and you can't sell all our utensils, but you have to give them a certain degree of incentive to explore. But what the government did in the last period is to literally sell out our natural resources for a song and a dance. And they have put NGC and by extension Trinidad and Tobago in a tight situation, in an uncomfortable situation. You could imagine the government of Trinidad and Tobago agreeing to instruct NGC to sell gas to EOG for something like about $4.50 per MMBTU, or no, per $4.50 per cubic feet. Now, that the NGC has made very clear in statements that they couldn't sustain that. But that is what the government instructed or maybe played a role. All these things have resulted in our revenue base being contracted. And the kind of resources that we're supposed to be pumping into this economy is not there. I mentioned earlier the ease of doing business. You have to take into account one of the difficulties that we have is the length of time it takes a business to get operationalized. There are too many hurdles in the pathway to inspire and encourage business. And what is even more dangerous is this escalating and uncontrollable rise in criminal activity in Trinidad and Tobago. This has resulted, I just listened to the news, and the first 7 or 8 minutes of tonight's news is only about murders and crime. And as we speak today, we are talking about 408 murders, and we are not even at the end of September, rushing toward the 605 figures of 2022. Now, how is that situation that is discouraging entrepreneurship to start a new business, that is discouraging nightlife, both in San Fernando, Central Trinidad, in Port of Spain, and in Tobago, Scarborough? How is this thing discouraging investment and investors and tourism? These developments rather are having a devastating impact
Definitely.
on economic activity in Trinidad and Tobago.
And I agree with you, Senator Mark, but the fact of the matter is that these individuals don't run their own personal business the way that we're seeing it as far as the economy. I mean, how could you not want to take us into a developed status where in fact that we have a robust economy, things are moving, the private sector is moving? Why not start to create that environment, that culture? It seems as though going into business now, you're going to be penalized to the point where you have to dip more into your profit to get your own personal security. So it seems as though that whatever it is that you are making has to go back in and deal with the flaws the administration has laid out as far as getting our economy going. How does that make sense?
No, Mikee K, the key issue is governance. There is a deficit in good governance. We have been saddled with an incompetent administration that has mismanaged and engaged in serious malpractices at the level of our economy. And these are some of the factors that are contributing to the stagnation. Would you believe that we have a deficit in foreign investment? Do you know that at the end of 2022, Trinidad and Tobago had a minus of close to $1 billion leaving our country? This is what we have not been able to attract foreign investment. We have not been able to generate and create new streams of economic activity in order to generate more diversification, more transformation, more employment. It is these factors, and because the government has lost its way because of greed, incompetence, mismanagement, and grand large-scale corruption, that Trinidad and Tobago, as the very Prime Minister used to tell us when he was in opposition, is heading towards hell in a handbasket, thanks to the PNM and thanks to the Prime Minister. That is what is going on. So the only solution to our problem is to get rid of this albatross, this economic weight that is really doing damage to our image, to our self-pride, to our self-worth in Trinidad and Tobago. Let me tell you something, Comrade Mikee K.
Go right ahead, quickly.
It was Thomas Jefferson, the third U.S. president, who said that the care of human life and happiness is the only legitimate object of good government. Listen, we have to measure development not by merely telling us the economy has grown in the first quarter. Let us translate that into human happiness. Let us translate that in how people are living better and longer lives. Let us translate that into the well-being of the citizenry of TNT. Let us translate that into our ability to engage in proper safety, protection, and security of our people, where they can go about their lives and their livelihoods and their daily chores without being shot at, without being murdered. Do you know, Mikee K, by the end of this year, this government would have spent $500 billion. $500 billion.
That is,
and look at the state of our economy. Look at the state of our schools. Look at the state of housing. Look at the state of the cost of living. Do you know a hop spread cost you and me 90 cents in 2015? You know it costing you $1.25 or maybe more than that for one hop spread. When you think about the low income individuals and the fixed income persons like pensioners, you know a larger percentage of their fixed income goes towards the purchasing of food. And food inflation in 2022 stood at 17.3%. Today, as we speak, in the first 9 months of 2023, it is almost 9%. So poor people are having real challenges.
I am sure, and I'm sure, Senator, tomorrow you're going to get quite an earful, and I mean, this is from the ground. The people themselves are going to come out. So once again, folks, Master Control, tomorrow, SWWTU Hall, the Borough of Diego Martin, Port of Spain City Corporation, San Juan Laventille Regional Corporation, budget consultation, UNC this Wednesday, that's tomorrow, with Dr. David Lee, Senator Jillian John, Senator Damian Leiter, Saddam Hussein, and of course, Senator Wade Mark. Senator, thank you so much. We will be talking to you periodically, of course. We'll be checking in, especially during the whole budget delivery. So we're going to be talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
It's been a
Mikee
pleasure.
K.
Thank you.